Emma pressed her sneakered foot against the spotless marble floor of the luxury showroom, trying to steady her nerves. She hadn't planned to be here more than 5 minutes. Just drop off her dad's packed lunch and head back to her small community college for her final exam. But as soon as she'd stepped inside the giant glass doors, she'd felt it. The cold stares, the polished chrome, the echo of wealthy laughter bouncing off walls covered in posters of hypercars she'd only ever seen in magazines. Her dad, who used to own his own tiny auto shop before it got swallowed by debt, was pushing a mop around a McLaren that probably cost more than she and her dad would make in 10 years. He'd given up his tools for a mop handle just to make sure Emma could keep going to school. That's why she never said no when he called her for help, even if it meant skipping sleep or meals. When she spotted him today, wiping sweat from his brow under the harsh showroom lights, she felt a twinge of guilt. He shouldn't be scrubbing floors for men who laugh too loud and tip too little. She crossed the floor quietly, holding the paper bag with his sandwich and the thermos of soup she'd reheated at home. But she paused when she heard the laughter from the other side of the showroom. A group of men in suits circled a bright cherry-red McLaren, its hood popped open like a prize they were mocking. A tall man in an expensive navy suit leaned against the side mirror, hair slicked back, Rolex glinting under the lights. He was the CEO, she guessed, by the way the others nodded and forced polite laughs whenever he spoke. Then I told him, if my top engineers can't get it started, what makes him think I'll trust some backyard wrench monkey to touch my baby? The CEO said loudly. The others burst into laughter, glancing at the older mechanic standing off to the side, a man Emma recognized as the only other real technician her dad had spoken kindly about. The poor man looked at his shoes, humiliated. Emma took a step closer just to see what was wrong with the car. She couldn't help herself. Engines were her world since she was 12. And her dad had shown her how to rebuild a carburetor on the family's old pickup. She didn't mean to make eye contact with the CEO, but when he noticed her, his eyes narrowed with the same cold glint she'd seen all her life in people who underestimated her. "You there?" he called out. The laughter died down, replaced by the curious hush of men eager for more drama. "What are you doing here, you lost?" Emma swallowed, hugging the paper bag tighter to her chest. "I'm just here to drop this off for my dad," she said, her voice steady but small. The CEO looked her up and down, grease-smudged hoodie, old jeans, cheap sneakers. He'd let out a bark of laughter. "Looks like we've got another expert mechanic in the building, gentlemen," he said. "Tell me, sweetheart, want to take a crack at it? Maybe you'll do what my 6-figure engineers couldn't." The salesman laughed on cue. Emma felt her ears burn, but she caught her dad's eyes over the CEO's shoulder. He looked terrified. He knew his daughter's pride too well. He knew she might step forward, and that could cost him this cleaning job if she embarrassed the big boss. But Emma thought about how her dad once told her, "If someone dares you to be small, prove them wrong by standing tall." She took a breath. "I could try," she said quietly. The room went silent, then roared back to life with mocking chuckles and the CEO's smirk spreading wider than ever. He tossed a small toolkit at her feet. "Be my guest," he said. "Just don't cry when you break something you can't afford." Emma bent down, picked up the toolkit, and felt its familiar weight in her hands. She stepped to the McLaren's open hood, blocking out the circle of expensive shoes and fake smiles. In her mind, it was just her dad's old garage, and the hum of an engine begging for someone who really knew how to listen. Emma's fingers worked fast, moving with a confidence that made the suits standing around her shift uncomfortably. She wiped her palms on her jeans and leaned over the McLaren's open hood, ignoring the CEO's amused scoff behind her. The inside of the car gleamed, too clean, too sterile. The kind of engine that looked good under showroom lights, but hadn't felt a real mechanic's hands in months. She could hear it, the quiet complaint only she seemed to notice, the whisper of a misfit connection that the computers hadn't diagnosed. She asked for a small flashlight, but no one moved. So she pulled her phone from her pocket, thumbed on the flashlight, and wedged it under her chin. Her dad, still standing at a respectful distance, with his mop handle clutched like a lifeline, looked like he wanted to say something, but he stayed silent, trusting her in a way that gave her courage. The CEO checked his watch dramatically, clearly waiting for her to fail. "Tick-tock, princess. Maybe it's bedtime for you," he mocked. His cronies chuckled again. Emma ignored him. She pulled a tiny wrench from the kit, reaching deep under a sleek chrome valve that, to the untrained eye, looked flawless. She found the loose clamp she'd suspected and tightened it gently, her mind replaying her dad's voice from late nights in their garage. Listen first, touch second, fix last. 5 minutes passed. 10. The showroom that usually pulsed with smooth music and polite chatter was dead quiet except for the clink of her tools. Sweat trickled down her neck, but her breathing stayed calm. When she pulled her hands out, wiping them on her hoodie sleeve, she closed the hood with a gentle click that echoed like a challenge in the wide glass room. She looked at the CEO, who arched an eyebrow. "Finished playing dress-up?" he sneered. She didn't answer. She just slipped into the driver's seat, carefully adjusting it, in forward, so her feet reached the pedals. Her dad stepped closer, holding his breath. She turned the key. For a moment, silence. Then the engine roared to life with a low, perfect growl that filled every corner of the showroom with a vibration so smooth it felt alive. Gasps rose from the circle of salesmen. The CEO's mouth fell open, his smug smile wiped clean by the pure, unmistakable sound of flawless horsepower. Emma let the engine purr for a moment, her fingers dancing lightly over the wheel like she was calming a wild animal. Then she cut it off and stepped out. The room was still silent when she handed the key back to the CEO. "It was just the clamp on the fuel line," she said, her voice calm but clear. "Too tight. Starved the engine. The computer didn't catch it." The CEO opened his mouth, but no words came out. One of the salesmen muttered, "I thought it needed a new injection unit." Emma's dad stepped forward, pride lighting his tired eyes. "He didn't say I told you so. He didn't have to." Emma turned to leave, her dad's lunch bag still crumpled in her hand. She wasn't going to ask for a thank you. She didn't expect an apology. But before she reached the doors, the CEO called out, his voice sharp, but his eyes softening like he was seeing her for the first time. "Wait," he said. He cleared his throat. "Where did you learn to do that?" Emma paused. She looked at her dad, who now stood a little taller than he had an hour ago. She gave the CEO a small, polite smile. "From the best mechanic you ever hired," she said simply. The CEO nodded slowly, speechless, as Emma slipped out the door. Outside, she handed her dad his lunch, and they walked to his old pickup together. The engine behind them purred on, a showroom full of men left with nothing but the echo of what a girl with dirty sleeves and a brave heart could do when someone dared her to fail.